It came to me recently that we have actually seen a pretty interesting rivalry going on in gaming. Well, maybe not necessarily a rivalry, because these days only one side seems to win. Now, I'm talking about Bethesda versus CD Projekt Red, and as a fan who's followed both studios for some years now, I feel pretty safe saying it has undoubtedly been a very lopsided battle that has unfolded over the past decade. Now, although these guys have both crafted their fair share of iconic games, Bethesda with classics like The Elder Scrolls and Fallout, and CDPR with the beloved Witcher series and the redemption arc of Cyberpunk 2077, there have been numerous times where their release dates have clashed with uncanny timing, like The Witcher 3 dropping in May 2015, just months before Fallout 4 in November. As well as that, you got the Cyberpunk 2020 launch overlapping Bethesda's Fallout 76 recovery phase, creating these head-to-head moments where both games were in a really bad state, if we're being honest. And as well as that, you have Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty overlapping with Starfield, which was both released in 2023. Now, beyond all of these release schedules, their shared focus is on sprawling RPGs and have drawn endless comparisons with the fans and critics alike, pitting Bethesda's open world freedom, think Skyrim's vast landscapes, against CDPR's narrative-driven depth, like The Witcher 3's amazing quests. Now, this has sparked debates all across social media, and everyone analyzes everything from character development to the actual world immersion, and with CDPR's titles racking up to 50 million combined sales now, compared to Bethesda's 60 million, the stakes are pretty high. I wouldn't say that these clashes have been about sales mainly though, they have also tested resilience. Bethesda had a buggy launch with Fallout 76, contrasting CDPR's recovery with Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty as well, and they have set the stage for future showdowns like the looming Witcher 4 versus the Elder Scrolls 6, which has got me counting the days that we are able to compare both of these games and really see how far apart the companies truly are. And what I mean by that is Bethesda obviously not being anywhere near as good in terms of making story-driven content, world immersion, and just overall better games than CDPR. And I suppose that's what mainly this video is actually about. I want to journey back to 2015 to where this rivalry did truly start, where The Witcher 3 won Game of the Year over Fallout 4, and explain how every time these two companies have matched up, there has only been one outcome, and that is CD Projekt Red winning. Before we do start though guys, it turns out that only 0.3% of people who actually tune into my content are subscribed, so if you do find yourself enjoying the video, please be sure to consider subscribing. It really does help support the channel. So let's dive headfirst into 2015, the year The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt kicked off, and I suppose it was the moment where CDPR's streak of beating Bethesda really did start. Now, the build up to the whole Game Awards in 2015 was nothing short of electric, with two RPG giants vying for supremacy. Fallout 4 was unveiled by Bethesda at E3 2015 in June, and it promised a post-apocalyptic Boston with a settlement building, voice protagonist, and the Fallout 3 legacy truly being brought into the game. And I suppose because it was promised doesn't mean it necessarily happened. I'm not saying that it did. Fallout 3 is vastly superior to Fallout 4, but I suppose that's a topic and a discussion for another day. But anyway, pre-orders soared to 1.2 million by October, with previews calling it the next evolution of open world gaming. Jesus, I'm so glad that they were wrong. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, you had The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt from CDPR, and this had dropped earlier on May 19th, 2015, and it was the third game in the very underrated Witcher series. And when I say underrated, guys, if you haven't played Witcher 1 and 2, like seriously, please try and make the time to do it. Vastly underrated games, like seriously good fun despite their age. Wow, I'm really making my bias shown here, aren't I? But anyway, in E3 2014, a reveal of 15 minutes of gameplay wowed critics, but I don't think there was necessarily as much hype for The Witcher 3 as it was for Fallout 4, and that was only because it was Bethesda releasing the game. Metacritic's early reviews gave Fallout 4 an 88 out of 100 post-launch for its freedom, but The Witcher 3's 93 out of 100 hinted a narrative edge, and the Game Award nominations in November 2015 actually pitted Fallout 4's 10 nods against The Witcher 3's 9, including Game of the Year, and this set the stage for a nail-biting showdown. Now, Fallout 4 actually entered in as the favourite, I like to think, with its massive marketing push and 1.87 million copies sold in 24 hours. But The Witcher 3, with 2.1 million copies sold by December, had quite a momentum built itself, and the night actually saw The Witcher 3 sweep 5 awards: Game of the Year, Best RPG, Best Narrative, Best Art Direction, and Best Technical Achievement, while Fallout 4 took 3: Best Action Adventure, Best Performance, and Best Sound Design. Now, this was absolutely massive for two big reasons. One was The Witcher 3 deservingly won Game of the Year despite how many people thought that it wouldn't, and also the fact that Bethesda's streak of releasing Game of the Year games finally come to an end. Oblivion, Fallout 3, Skyrim, and when Fallout 4 came out, it was where it stopped. And you're probably wondering, well, why have I seen Fallout 4 Game of the Year edition? Well, that was Bethesda's cheap way of trying to market it as the best game that year. It didn't actually win the Game of the Year. It won the Game of the Year at the DICE Awards and the British Academy Game Awards. Now, there are actually many reasons why The Witcher 3 was vastly superior to Fallout 4 that year. One, I definitely think, was a character depth. Geralt, voiced by Mr. Doug Cockle, who, please, can you come for an interview on the channel? I'd love to have you on. I've been sending a few emails. And he led a massive cast of 950 voice actors, delivering 40 hours worth of dialogue with complex arcs, which just invested you and immersed you in the game so much. My only complaint is I wish they kind of decided to maybe hire more than 3 voice actors for the bandits in the game, but yeah, well, I'll let you slide on that. Now, this is a stark contrast in comparison to Fallout 4 with just over 100 voice actors and only 20 hours of dialogue, and it did fall flat in a lot of places. Preset dialogue options limited the role-playing ability of the game, and companions like Piper lacked the depth of Triss or Yennefer. And with depth, I suppose that really adds to storytelling, and mainly immersive storytelling. And storytelling sealed The Witcher 3's victory for me, but despite even the main story, some of the side quests were more advanced than Fallout 4's main story, if you want to call it that. The Bloody Baron side quest offered 10 hours of emotional weight with some of the most compelling and unbelievably morally destroying storytelling decisions you'll ever have to make in gaming. With Fallout 4's 27-hour story focused on finding a son that was older than you because you were frozen, yeah, with 300 choices leading to very, very predictable outcomes, it wasn't necessarily that whole immersion that you expected for a Game of the Year. And yeah, I get it, Bethesda have never had writing as their strong point, but they've really made up with that with their vast open worlds, and when you have an open world like Fallout that doesn't really compensate for such poor writing, then I think that's where you truly have a problem. It just didn't have that Skyrim factor, unfortunately, for them. Even with that, the world of The Witcher 3 was far more detailed and layered than Bethesda. They kind of beat them at their own game, surprisingly enough. 100 plus unique locations, Skellige's Island, Novigrad's bustling streets outdid Fallout 4's 12 square kilometer and 20 locations. Its dynamic weather and 80 plus monster contracts beat Fallout 4's static ruins and 15 radiant quests. Exploration actually felt rewarding with hidden treasures and lore, while Fallout 4's settlements needed mods for life, let's be honest. And as a fan, The Witcher 3's world was a playground for exploration and fun, whereas Fallout 4's just felt completely barren. And I suppose that was only one of the many factors of why Fallout 4 fell short. Maybe this wouldn't all have been picked up on if it were released at a different time, but unfortunately, it had to go one-on-one with one of the greatest and most immersive RPGs ever made, so it really did expose its flaws. But if you think CDPR weren't done there, then you are completely wrong, because in 2023, Phantom Liberty went one-on-one with the monster of a game named Starfield. Now, if we bring ourselves back to 2023, not so long ago as 2015, where CDPR delivered yet another jaw-dropping victory over Bethesda by releasing, once again, another unbelievable, like one of the greatest DLCs you can ever imagine in the Phantom Liberty expansion. This was a truly transformative DLC for the game Cyberpunk 2077, and this DLC alone completely outclassed Starfield, unfortunately once again exposing Bethesda's flaws of how far behind they truly are in the gaming industry. Now, if we're being totally honest, the hype for Starfield was off the charts, as Bethesda promised a groundbreaking space RPG boasting over 1,000 explorable planets powered by the shiny new Creation Engine 2, amassing 2.5 million pre-orders by August 2023. This was hailed as Bethesda's boldest leap yet, with trailers showcasing mesmerizing space combat, planetary landings that had Bethesda fans going crazy with anticipation. Meanwhile, on the other side of the river, you had Cyberpunk 2077. Now, this was post-2020, where they had one of the worst releases in gaming history. There's no hiding that whatsoever, but it also led to the best comeback in gaming history. And in 2023, the hype surrounding Cyberpunk was at an all-time high. Like, these guys really established themselves of fixing the game and getting everything back on track. And it really did set the stage for Phantom Liberty, a DLC announced in September September 2022 with a stunning spy thriller set in the gritty heart of Dogtown District featuring Idris Elba. Now, this racked up 1.8 million pre-orders for this DLC by December. Now, these guys were releasing on the same month of September. Now, Starfield respectively sold 2.2 million copies in its first week, according to Bethesda, earning an 8 out of 10 rating from the very respected, very reliable IGN for its ambitious scope. And with that launch day, it brought a storm of 500 bugs, floating asteroids, broken quests, and crashes, which is always unfortunate to happen to a game, especially after what we saw with Cyberpunk. Now, while this was happening, Phantom Liberty dropped on September 26th, and actually sold 3 million copies in its first month. Wow, that was unbelievable, especially considering how far Cyberpunk had come and where it actually started off in 2020. And it actually earned a glowing 90 out of 100 from PC Gamer for its 20-hour campaign, and seeing patches 2.01 squash initial crashes within 48 hours, a responsiveness that shone through when the Game Awards 2023 actually snubbed Starfield for Game of the Year in favour of Alan Wake 2, but handed Phantom Liberty the Best DLC award. So looking at this, it actually seems that Cyberpunk's DLC outsold Starfield, Bethesda's biggest ever release, I suppose you could brand it as. Although Bethesda did have Starfield on Game Pass, I still see this as a massive victory for CDPR. Although they probably weren't directly competing with Bethesda, they still beat them. And it was the same usual stuff that CDPR excelled where Bethesda failed. The world design was another blowout, with Phantom Liberty's Dogtown, a vibrant pub packed with unique quests and NPCs, all for you to go and explore in detail, outclassing Starfield's 1,000 planets. Bear in mind, every single one of them were all procedurally generated, with the same outposts spawned in random places. Now, I'll ask you a quick question. Would you rather one unique map, handcrafted with amazing characters and immersive storytelling, complemented by a world to suit it, or 1,000 procedurally generated planets where it's quite literally the same thing over and over again, where you're sent on scavenging missions to go and retrieve something, Radiant Quest basically? The sales impact really did speak the volumes for me though. Cyberpunk 2077 reaching 25 million copies sold by 2025 is a testament to the success of Phantom Liberty's pull that dwarfed Starfield's 13 million sales. And as a fan, yes, this commercial victory underscored CDPR's resurgence, yet Starfield's shortcomings were still glaring. Its empty planets, buggy quests, and a rushed launch actually, where patches were only addressing actual issues months later. It stood in the dark in contrast to Phantom Liberty's careful craftsmanship, and as a fan who saw the potential in Starfield, I can't help but feel Bethesda squandered another opportunity here and paved the way for CDPR's latest triumph again. Now onto the final part of this video, and I want to talk about the future, a very scary subject for many, but maybe more scary for Bethesda if they have to compete with The Witcher 4 when they put out The Elder Scrolls 6. Now, we've already had a little glimpse of The Witcher 4 in a tech demo. Yes, I reiterate, a tech demo, but still looks absolutely amazing. Now, we obviously know how much we know about The Elder Scrolls 6. I won't even begin to talk about that today. It's so frustrating. But if these games do end up coming out around a similar time, which I predict about 2027 to 2028, it's really going to show the gap between these two companies. Have Bethesda actually caught up to anywhere near CD Projekt Red in terms of storytelling and immersion? Or are they unfortunately going to be lacking once again in every single department where CDPR outclassed them? Quests, characters, writing. I honestly think that it's not a topic talked about enough, but I truly think this is Bethesda's biggest challenge yet, because when you go ahead and compare yourself to a game like The Witcher 4, it's certainly going to show how far off you are the gaming world. There used to be a lot of charm to Bethesda's old games, like the derpiness of why did I seriously just say derpiness? Or, you know, the bugs that you'd find in Bethesda games. They used to be fairly charming, like people found them funny, but unfortunately I don't think that kind of stuff cuts it in today's modern era of gaming. We want mature modern gaming. We want games to actually step up and see progress from where we last saw them. And with Bethesda, I feel like we're not seeing progress like we are with other companies such as CD Projekt Red. At the end of the day, even if there's a year gap between these two games actually releasing, they are still going to be compared no matter matter what. I mean, they're both fantasy RPG games made by some of the biggest studios in the world. Bethesda is setting the standard in terms of these games, no doubt about it. I just feel like it's going to be a conversation of how far off is Elder Scrolls 6 to The Witcher 4. And I suppose only time will tell what happens in this rivalry that we have going here. Will CDPR go 3-0 on Bethesda, or can they try and pull something back? I mean, if you were a betting man, you'd have to say that unfortunately for Bethesda, Elder Scrolls 6 is going to touch nowhere near the quality of The Witcher 4. I'm going for that 3-0. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think I'm completely out of my mind and all of these CDPR titles just don't weigh up to the Bethesda games whatsoever? Am I completely wrong about that, or do you totally agree with what I'm saying? Please let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching this video. Bit of a longer one today, but I hope you have enjoyed it, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks, guys.